Welcome, and thanks for stopping by. Whether you're watching us on YouTube or listening to our podcast on one of your favorite platforms, I'm glad you're here. At this time, I would like to thank our partners and sponsors for their dedication to helping the show to grow. We cannot do what we do without their help. You've reached the Millennium Beat with your host, Kevin James. I'm with Kylee Robinson from Connecticut, you say?
Rhode Island.
Oh, Rhode Island. Well, it's close. I just missed by a little.
The other small state.
Another small state, yeah. Well, I grew up in Massachusetts, as I was saying in the pre-show, so I've been there before. So that's really good. So we're going to get to know you a little bit more. My audience is going to get to know you and some of the things, and that you can teach them at the end, some ways to help change their lives. So let's start off with your story, where you're from, and we'll go from there. So,
okay.
The floor is all yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on here, Kevin. I'm looking forward to it. My background, let's see. I was raised as a Marine Corps B.R.A.T.
Okay.
So we moved around a little bit, not as much as maybe most people that were in the military. But it did provide for a different kind of lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
So we moved around quite a bit. We landed in Texas for a while. So I've got some Texas pride. That's where I will always claim I'm from.
Texas, yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, I can't claim that I'm from Massachusetts, so it's like I don't know if that would be a good thing or not. But before you go on a little bit more of your story, so I know a little bit about more of your background. Mother, father, you only, or was there any other siblings?
Oh, no, I am the oldest of 4.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a sister and 2 brothers.
Okay.
Yeah, and then with that, we had this weird dynamic of being a military family, but then we were also homeschooled all the way through.
Okay.
And some homeschoolers are pretty weird.
Yeah.
I'm going to say we were not.
Homeschooling today is a lot different than it was years ago. It's a lot different. So it's funny how you talk about being homeschooled and military. There's this group that I'm not much into Southern or gospel music or country music, but there's a bluegrass band out of not Memphis, Branson, Missouri, and they were military. And there was like 4 or 5 of them. I don't think it was in the Marines, but so that's a whole different. So you traveled a lot.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, we moved around a lot. We never really lived by like our cousins and aunts and uncles. We learned that you had to build your own family wherever you were for however long you were there.
Mm-hmm.
And we learned that, the people in our home, those 4 siblings, like these are going to be your best friends. So you guys got to work it out.
Right. Kylee, you were talking about about you being a military child of you said 4, right? 4 kids?
Yes. Yeah. The oldest of 4.
And you're the oldest of 4. So tell me a little bit more about that. What was it like growing up as a military child and as the oldest of 4?
Yeah. Well, like I said, we didn't move around as, I've met people who are military kids who have been all over the world and moved every single 2 years. And that's not where we were. I believe I was 7 or 8 years old when my dad got out. No, I was younger than that. I apologize. It was probably 5 when he got out of the military. So we didn't spend that long, but we did our fair share of moving. And then even afterwards, we still kind of had this culture of moving, wherever the job was is where our family was going to go. And again,
now, is there a big age gap between you and your, because you said you were 5 when he got out. So which means your other siblings and you're the oldest. So, I mean, was it year, 4 year after that? Or, I mean, because the baby.
At that point, my mom was pregnant with the 3rd when he got out of the military.
All right. So
I think it's 7 years total. between the four of us. So it averages out about 2 years or so between each of us. Yeah. So he didn't know the military portion. It was just me and my sister. And all I knew really is that Dad would be gone for 6 months at a time. And then whenever he came back, because it was such a young age, we had to kind of get reacclimated. I was kind of like intimidated by him, and we had to figure out that relationship again, and then he'd be gone again. So I do have some memories of those, and I don't recommend it.
No.
Now, today, technology is amazing. Like my brother-in-law was in Iraq, and his daughter, he was here for the birth, but then like her rolling over and learning to crawl and learning to walk, like he was not here for that, but they had FaceTime. They had Zoom calls. So they were able to do a whole lot of that where he was able to see that. My dad didn't get that. Yeah.
Unfortunately, the technology back then wasn't there. Like, I mean, we couldn't even be doing these type of interviews, I mean, they had Skype. Skype's been around for a while, but 10 years ago, it was not, it wasn't really anything. We couldn't do this type of thing. And now there's Skype, there's Riverside, there's Zoom, there's
so much. Yeah.
Ecamm, there's a lot of companies that will do, and they're getting better. I mean, as I said, like I don't know if you like it or not, or people might not like it. I have a robotic cameraman, it's a little tiny thing. And I have to be careful of using his name because he looks up and goes, me? So he'll, and if I can't use hand gestures because he will start moving stuff. So that technology is now as good. So if people in the military, you can be anywhere. I mean, I'm on the left and the right, you're on the monitor, and you're up in, I'm going to keep saying Rhode Island. But
that's right. Rhode Island's right.
Oh, it is Rhode Island. Okay. I have to remember Providence, Rhode Island. But I'm not saying you're from Providence, but that's how I remember. Sure, I wish I was gifted with what they call short-term memory. I have good long-term memory. Short-term memory, not so much.
Yeah.
So
those two components. Oh, sorry.
No, that's all right. Go ahead.
The two components of being raised, kind of military with that, that kind of mindset from my parents, and then being homeschooled kind of led my parents to guide us to do things very counterculturally. We came out of our home with some different ideas about how money should be handled and how relationships should look and what education can be, because we had been educated differently than most kids.
Right. You're homeschooled.
And then, yeah. So there were all these different components that my parents kind of were able to shape in, our values and what those were going to look like. Very different than what your average student coming out of high school looks like. And in fact, that's what I wrote my book about, is how in each of these main areas, how we were taught to think a little bit differently than the rest of the culture.
Now, how was your relationship with your dad? I mean, because we think of, especially the Marines, they're tough dudes. How was he as a dad? Was he a tough dad, or was he lucky? What was your dad a little bit like growing up?
Now, I will stand by the Marine Corps and say they're the best of the best, always and forever. And once a Marine, always a Marine. But you get that picture in your head when I say that of this drill sergeant. If my dad was the drill sergeant, then my mom was the free spirit. So there was a balance there. Our home was not run like
it wasn't run with
at all.
What do you call it? Military style. You've seen those movies and TV shows that the dad is the military.
We were not that.
And that's good.
Yes.
Otherwise, I would be your shrink, and you'd have to be talking to me about all your challenges that you had with your dad and issues, and you have to get them all out, Otherwise,
there was a good balance there. Like when he brought more of that structure, my mom was more of that, kind of a free spirit and brought it down and easy going. So there was a good balance, and plus we were with her all day long, every day.
Right.
Even out of the military, he was working outside of the home. So she kind of, I think most women or moms are the people, the backbone of the home anyways. It's more how they're going to run things.
Right. I'm not saying the sexist wise, isn't the mother usually the nurturer more?
Yes.
Yes,
that's in our nature.
Not always.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's in the nature. Right.
Yeah. So I would even say I'm nowhere near my mom on that nurturing level, but I am still the nurturer.
Right.
So I feel like there's levels to that, but that is a female characteristic.
Okay. All right. So now you're growing up. Now your father's outside the military. What was your teenager life like? What were you like as a teenager?
Yeah. So we left Texas when I was 11 years old, and they were ruining my life. I was never going to make friends again. It was very dramatic.
Oh, yes. I've heard that every movie, every life.
Yes, it's very dramatic.
Destroying my life and all that kind of stuff. So that's how you thought at 11, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So we were in Virginia for a year and then in Pennsylvania. And so my middle school and high school was all spent in Pennsylvania. I got into a great youth group, had a great group of people around me. I think typical high school drama, Mean Girls, all that jazz.
Oh, yeah. I've done interviews with people that were part of the Mean Girls.
Oh.
Yeah. It changed now, but that was an interesting conversation. So yeah.
When we left Texas, we had been homeschooled in this great homeschool group and everything. Well, we left, and I had a couple of pen pals. One being my now sister-in-law.
Okay.
So my husband and I met in Texas when we were 5 and 7 years old. And then his sister was my pen pal when we left. And then after high school, I actually went back to Texas and interned at the youth group at this huge church that we had been a part of. And that's when my husband and I started dating, and then got married, and I moved back to Texas.
Oh, that's interesting. I've been to Texas. I had a friend. She's no longer a friend of mine. She disowned me. That's a whole story in itself. She was from, I think, Arlington, Texas, because I flew into Dallas, and then I went to Arlington. Yeah. So, and I went to church there. I met some her neighbors and stuff like that. And I said, I don't really have any friends. And this girl says, hey, I'll be your friend. Okay. I don't know how old I was, but that was interesting. But yeah, I think I've only been to Texas twice.
Okay.
I had to stay there on the way to Louisiana once because we missed our flight. I was taking my mother to my nephew's wedding. And so we had to stay in Dallas because that airport is huge. That's a huge airport.
Oh my gosh. I heard one time that the DFW airport has the largest parking lot in the world of any. Oh, wow.
I haven't heard that, but it's
I don't know if it still stands. I heard that a long time ago, but I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah. I know that as I said, I've flown out of there once. Well, actually twice, because you count, and I flew from Tampa, Florida to Dallas. And then we were supposed to get on a puddle jumper to drive back to Louisiana, and then we missed the plane because the flight from Tampa to Dallas was late. So it was already gone anyway. It wasn't like we just missed it because we just missed it. It was a late. So Texas is pretty cool. I mean, everything is big in Texas. I just did an interview with a guy. He does a podcast called The Bible Speaks to You, and he's up in the panhandle of Texas.
Okay,
so,
nice.
It starts with an A, and I can't remember. I would have to look at the video. I have a little map I put up on the screen.
Yeah.
And then he's from the Back Bay of Boston originally. He was there for a couple of years. But Texas is a pretty cool place. I like it. As I said, I've only been there a couple times. I eventually, when I get the Millennium bus, I'll actually go visit some people in Texas, and so I'll spend some time there.
Nice.
So that's cool. So you spent your high school days. So you actually went to school for your high school days, not just homeschool?
Nope, still homeschooled. But the beautiful thing in Pennsylvania, as a homeschool student, you can participate in any and all extracurricular activities at the local public school. So I went to all the dances, I was in theater, I played sports, I did all that fun stuff. So we got to be very involved, and it was where all my youth group friends were. So we kind of had our group, and I know I just wasn't there for 8 hours a day, and then I'd show up and get to do the fun things.
That sounds like, so you said sports. What I was going to say volleyball, but I can't tell if you're that volleyball type or lacrosse, or it could be soccer. Or soccer, I mean, I'm trying to think what else it could be. It wasn't football.
No, it was not. I played soccer and volleyball.
Okay.
Yes, that's and cool. I'm not the tall one playing volleyball. I was in the back.
You were in the back, yeah. I dated a girl that was a volleyball player, and I'm 5'10", and she was like 6 something. Yeah, so she was. Yeah, I'm not that. She was made to be a. Hey, that's all right. Don't worry about it.
He escaped my husband. I'm so sorry.
Oh, don't worry about it. You ever see those things on television? And we can just leave it in. It doesn't really matter. I don't care. That's one of the things about my podcast. I'm Mr. organized, Mr. OCD about things, but then there's some things, whatever. And they have
Life
to
happens.
show
What can you do?
Especially during the pandemic, you get these people that do home interviews, and people are coming in screaming, and cats decide to come running in, and they come up to the camera. So it is one of the things I try to do with my podcast, whether it's in person or on the computer, is just be very friendly. We're just getting to know each other. You're sharing your story. You know your story better than anybody else. I can't correct you. It's like, hey, I just can go by what I think of. I want to ask questions. I'm not one of those, like, we get a topic, and gave me some bio, and we'll go over some of those things, but it's just the kind of a format to keep. I always say I am the rudder of the ship. I keep the ship going in the right direction. That's all.
Yeah.
So
just,
things happen.
You're jumping off.
He's running in.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
so sorry.
And I always tell people, don't worry about it. Don't get nervous. It's not like you're doing a CNN interview, like they ask you these 5 questions and you got to give them an answer. And I always joke about this every time I ask a question, and the guest goes, Kevin, that is a great question. And I'm in my mind saying, yeah, of course it's a great question. You gave it to me. they set it up. I haven't had it yet that people that want to be guests that will say, here's some questions I want you to ask me. I haven't had it yet in 3 years, so I'm good. It's like, but people do that. They kind of do that. So so you're playing volleyball. You did soccer, which is cool. I have to ask, I don't know how the positions were. I know I played soccer. I was a right halfback. What were you?
I was a left halfback.
Oh, you're left halfback. So you're you're left-footed, left-handed?
I'm right-handed and was better with my left foot. So go figure.
Yeah. I had a unique name. Mine was Killer Kelly. I had a mean slide and tackle. And the only reason why I never get penalized, as long as you slide and tackle and you get the ball, you're good. And I always get the ball. And I was in soccer from junior high all the way through my junior year of high school. And then I took off my senior year, and I was manager of the yearbook, raising thousands of dollars so the students get the yearbook for free. So that's very cool. So you did that. No musical, anything in a band or anything like that?
Oh yeah, I was in a couple musicals. So we did. My first one was the Titanic.
Oh wow, there's a musical on the Titanic.
Oh yes, and
you hear Grease a lot, but I never heard Titanic.
I missed Grease, and I was so bummed. That was the year before me.
Okay,
but, I did Titanic and Cinderella, and then I was up for another one, and I just had too many things going on my senior year. And they said, you know what? Please just give that tiny role that I got to my sister, and so they did.
Okay, your sister, so she's into acting and theater and all.
Oh yes, my sister. She's a triple threat. She's got it all. She can sing, dance, and act. Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. I wish I could sing. I love singers. And I do sing, but not very well. And I know when I can sing good, and I know when I can sing bad. And it's more bad than good. But I call myself a song snob, especially in worship of bands at churches. I'll listen to a band and I go, please get down. Let somebody else sing. I do not feel like staying here listening to this, and then I like that band I was telling you out in Branson, Missouri called the Petersons. And I'm guessing the oldest sister is probably in her early 30s, mid to early 30s and stuff. And she has an awesome voice. And then she has her younger sister sings, and then her baby sister who just graduated college. So I would say she's probably 20. But she has that twangy type of voice. They don't all sound the same. The oldest doesn't have any twang, but the youngest does. I mean, the youngest has that country twang, which I'm not a big fan of. I've never been a fan of.
Sometimes it's a matter of where you learn to talk. Nobody can pin my accent. I get told all the time that I've got an accent and they can't pin it. Well, I learned to talk in North Carolina. I was born in Washington. I lived 8 years in Texas and then went up north. So I think I just kind of picked up on something in everywhere that we were.
Right. Now, I had a mass accent. I remember when I first moved to Florida, I was involved with our youth group, and they beat the living crap out of me vocally. Every word.
Will do that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the hardest one is in New England, they got a great idea, It said idea, it's idea, and Regina, Glenda, no, it's Glenda. It's like, and they just hounded me over and over. And the biggest one that I always still get confused with, because I can't see it in my mind, is freezer. Is it freezer or freezer? It's like, if it ends with an A, it's freezer. If it ends with an R, it's freezer. So it's like, so I remember when I was younger, in my young days, when I was 18 years old, I went to Nashville, and I met the Southern States Dance Contest. They were all females, so the whole hotel. I was in heaven. And we started on the top floor, and we getting kicked off every floor all night long. We were just chatting. They love my Boston accent, because I never lived anywhere else. I lived in Massachusetts until I was 30. And then I moved to Florida, and in Florida doesn't really have an accent. It's not like Louisiana. It's
a melting pot, kind of like Dallas.
A lot of New York, like, hey, let's go get the car, So you're lucky in a sense that you do. I mean, if I talk to you, like I'll listen to somebody here at church, because my office is at a church, and there's a lady that preaches once in a while, and she just preached actually this weekend, and she's originally from New York, and she has that, like, still after years, still I can say, oh, you're from New York. I mean, it's accents. It's fun. It's always a good conversation. As I said, I spent all night long talking to girls when I was younger because of my accent. So it's like, it's different because they're so used to. Only once have I ever talked to somebody that had an accent that I could not understand. It was a girl I was at the beach in Vero Beach, Florida, and I was just chatting up, a conversation with her, and she was from West Virginia. And I could not understand a word she basically was saying. And I did an interview just a couple of weeks ago with a guy. I go, because he was from West Virginia, I go, you don't sound like that girl I met from West Virginia. Because, but
that was a whole other ball game.
It's, but it's always neat. I mean, I like that kind of stuff. I like meeting people from different areas. You got California, you got the Midwest, which I'm not really familiar. I've done a few interviews with people out Midwest. I've done one in Washington State. And stuff like that. Eventually,
my cousins are in the Midwest, and so we would always make fun of them for a little bit of accent, but mostly just different verbiage. For us, we drank soda and they drank pop.
They drink pop, and sometimes it's like soda is like a Coke. Everything's a Coke.
Texas, it's a Coke.
Everything's a Coke. You
want a Coke? What kind? Dr. Pepper.
Well, that's another thing. When I was here, I know. It's like one of the things I was down here, and I said, okay, I'm going to fill the garbage. Like, I'm going to fill the garbage. He says, we don't have garbage. We have trash. It's like, like dinner, supper, So like, like a hoagie or a sub or a grinder, it's like everywhere. You're right. Yeah. Everybody has, I remember years ago, my mother was in KU, Kansas University, and it's not Kentucky. I know where KU is. I forget. But she worked at a store, and she asked somebody where the pecan was. The pecans.
That's what you put beside your tent.
Right there. It's not pecan. It's pecan. But it gives we all call things differently. So it's so that's cool. So you're basically grew up in that time period that you don't have a major accent, and you're dealing. You could do some activities. Did you get to graduate in that same school, or did you move by before that happened?
No, most of my high school, so it's still considered homeschool, but I participated in a cyber school. And so I actually had the opportunity to have teachers that I could interact with, but it was still self-paced. I got to choose my courses almost like a college catalog, as long as, I got same as college. As long as I got all the credits in, I got to pick what interested me within that subject and take something along.
Did you feel as self-paced? Because it was called LAP, learn at your own pace. My freshman year at a technical high school, we had that, but then they changed it, which was good because for me, slower learning, it would have taken me 6 years to graduate high school. It's just but once they got me back into a normal high school, not a learn at your own pace thing, and it would be. I mean, I don't know how well I would have been as a homeschool student. I don't know. It's my parents, but again, you don't always have to be super smart. You just have to know. Because things are done online, there's classes and stuff like that. So you interacted with. So did you get to go to a physical graduation, or?
I did. Yep. So as that cyber school, anyone that was a part of that, I got to have that graduation experience.
And then you said you went to the dances, so you go to your prom and
Oh yeah,
places like that. So that
every chance I could. We just had so much fun.
Did you see now? Problem in my high school, I went to a regional technical high school. Actually, the name of the high school is Montezuma Regional Vocational Technical High School. That was the name of the school.
Wow.
So try to say that one fast. Montezuma Regional Vocational High School. But the nickname was short as Monty Tech. So, but if I was on one end of the district and my buddy was on the other end of the district, it would take me almost 45 minutes to get to his house. That's how big our district was. So, and dances weren't always I used to DJ and all that kind of stuff. And I worked with a DJ company, and we didn't have a lot of people. We did have some, but we just never had it's not like a local high school in your city, John Doe High School, where everybody lives basically in the same neighborhood or the same community.
Right.
And that's a little bit different. I miss the fact that, I didn't have that. And I didn't go to my senior prom. I went to my junior prom, but I didn't go to my senior prom, and I should have. Now looking back at it, years later, I go, even if I didn't really like the person that's dating, I say, hey, if you want to go as friends, hey, I'll go as friends with you. No big deal. Who cares?
Yeah.
Just,
Because
that's just
we had a great time, and and the thing is, I had a really great group that it was kind of like the youth group all hung out at the school, and we did all the football games and everything. So the dances, it was all of us hanging out, and that was our crew, and so it was a lot of fun. For all of us.
Now, let's talk a little bit, since you brought up the youth group. Tell me a little bit about the youth group. What was that like? What type of church was it that you had a youth group from?
Yeah, so we actually went to a non-denominational Christian church, but when we started going there, when we moved to Pennsylvania, I was the youth.
Oh wow!
And there were these two guys who were designated as like the youth pastors, and they were so excited that there was someone a youth age, and they were like, "Do you want to get coffee with us?" And my parents were like, "No, she's 14. She's not going to coffee with two men."
Right.
So, luckily, down the street from us, there were twin boys my age, and so they invited me to their youth group. So it was a Presbyterian youth group, and that's just that's where I found my friends in 7th grade when we moved there, and so I stuck with that, and it served its purpose. I didn't go Presbyterian. I haven't pursued that since, but it was a solid group with good teaching and a great group of people, and they attracted just a ton of people from the local high school.
Okay. Oh, that's cool. That's awesome. That sounds like a lot of fun. I mean, as I said, I grew up as a Catholic, so most of the time in my youth at that age, I was going to Catholic dances, and in the basement.
Probably very different.
Oh yes, very. I was very shy. I met this girl. How so shy I was, and I met this girl, and I loved dancing with her, and I asked her every month to dance with her, but never got her name, never asked her out. And we're talking months, not probably years, but probably like 3 or 4 months. And I danced with her every dance we had. I was involved with Amway years ago, and I was doing a meeting, and her and her boyfriend, I think, popped into the meeting. I go, "Hey, I know you. Don't know your name, but I know you."
Oh, no.
It's just so funny. It's because I just like dance. I would be different today, but back then I was very shy. I was not shy enough not to ask her to dance, but not to ask her, do more dancing, go out and stuff like that, which today I would have. I kicked myself. It's like we look back at our younger self, and it's like, you ever hear that song? It's this Christian song, like something, I don't know who sings it about, like, you talk to your younger self and what you would tell them, and there's a song, a Christian song. I don't know, it's by some guy. And what would we say to our younger self, type of thing. It's like mine would be is, hey, you're okay. I was 5'10", 30-inch waist, 30-inch length waist. I was skinny. I wore glasses, but I wasn't bad looking. I was just shy. It took believe it or not, it took Amway for me to not be shy, because I had to go do co-contacts, meeting people, asking them, showing them the plan, and complete strangers. Now today, I am 99% not shy anymore. I still, because I'm single, I still couldn't go up to, you don't have to worry about this. You're married and have a husband and you have kids. So, you got all that in your back, but for me, I still couldn't, if I saw a really attractive girl, I would have a hard time like asking her out. It's like,
you're frozen again.
To me,
I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you. Oh,
there you are.
Yeah, you can. I can. today, like I do now, if I meet somebody I like, I hand them my business card and say, hey, do a podcast, check it out.
That's your way of asking someone out.
That way, if they watch the podcast, they got my information. They have my phone number. They have my email address. They have my website.
Funny, clever.
And that way, I leave it up to her if she wants to, if she's interested. Say, so all she has to do is like say, hey, I listen to your podcast and it's great. And then there'll be a conversation start. And once that starts, I'm pretty good. So, all right. So you graduated. What happened to you after you graduated?
Yeah, I was already going to the community college as a senior.
Okay, senior. Okay.
Yep. So I continued there for the fall semester. And then in January, I went to Texas for an internship at the church that I had grown up at there. So I was going to go help out with their booming youth group at the time.
They had more than one person?
Yes.
Not like
this one was doing very well.
This was doing really well. I've dealt with the youth group, and I was on the youth staff, and I was worship leader of the youth group. But we sang, but we used tapes and CDs and stuff like that. So we sang along with them. So, but I was kind of the leader of that for a while. So we did that. But so it's a booming. So you're interning there on the staff of the youth group staff. So
yes, an unpaid internship, but that's where I felt that I needed to be next. And so I took a couple classes online. I stayed with a family there that we had known from way back. She was actually the children's pastor at the time. My now husband was leading the middle school ministry and the youth band. Okay. And so that's when we started dating while we were there. And we kind of knew this was coming, and we waited a month and said, let's just make sure, get our bases covered here. And so we dated for 9 months, were engaged for 10, and then got married.
Okay. Oh, wow. Yeah. It sounds like I do different types of interviews. I do like this interview, kind of telling you a story, but I also do what we call love stories, where I would interview the husband. And we talk about like a lot of things that we're talking about now, like for you, I would do the same thing for the wife.
Sure.
And then it goes up to the time they met, and then we'll see if there's any difference. And then and
obviously that's the very short version of that.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, and then they tell the story of how they met, and they got married, and they fell in love. I mean, well, hopefully they fell in love first. Fell in love, got married, and then they had kids, and in that order.
Yes.
So I call it love stories, and I love those because I sit down with them around your coffee table or your dining room table or something like that and tell the story. I've done it quite a few times, and those become very popular because they're candid. They're just like us having a conversation. You're talking about your life. That's, as I said, I'm a storyteller, and I try to get people to tell their story, because somebody out there is listening, and they can relate to your story.
Right.
So okay. So you met your husband in the youth group. You're in the youth group as an intern. How long I don't know if you said this, but how long were you in as an intern?
It was just that semester. So I was in Texas for 5 months. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But that was long enough to meet your husband, right?
Well, see, we'd known each other already from when we were kids.
Okay, it's the pen pal because your sister.
Yeah, because of his sister. Yeah, and then in middle school or high school, when MySpace came on the scene, that's when he and I got I started communicating with him as well as his brother, just because we had all been friends. And so we would all just message back and forth every now and then. So we'd been in communication. And I was actually his first crush way back when. And he likes to joke now is he's never had a meet the parents moment because he has always known my parents.
Right.
Even when I was 19 and I was like, hey, mom, dad, I think Josh and I are going to start dating. And they were like, all right, we know his whole family. We know him. Go for it. We approve.
Sale of approval from mom and dad. So that's cool.
Yeah.
Especially with dads, as I said, this is my little girl, and it's you better live up
plus
to
the first child.
Yes. Plus the first child. So that is cool. That's a great little love story there. I like those kind of dream stories and stuff so. All right. So you told me the length of time of dating and then engagement and stuff like that.
So I went back to Pennsylvania after that internship, and we did long distance until we got married the following August.
How'd that work out? Long distancing.
Well, we're still here.
Yes.
Again.
So we know it worked out, but how was it when you were doing it? It wasn't all rosy. It wasn't all perfect, I'm sure.
It was not. I mean, we missed each other a lot. We saw each other every 3 months for a week.
Right.
Yeah. And the thing that there were a lot of really good things about it, because when we were both still living with our parents, or he was away at school or at his parents, he was away at school an hour away. So when I came into town, I stayed at their house. I joined the family. When he came in town, he joined the family. And so we brushed our teeth together and we did chores around the house together. And, so we got to interact in that way. Whereas when you're dating, you're on your best behavior for a couple of hours and then you go your separate ways and let your hair down. So that was a really good thing. And then the other thing is if all you can do is talk to each other, then that's what you do. Like you talk on the phone, you talk on Zoom, and you get to go through so many more conversations than you may have when you're just in that dating element.
Well, also, it doesn't mean doing it that way. It also keeps the physical side of relationships a little bit more at bay than because there's not much you can do
no choice
on a computer or a phone. I mean, especially today with, as I said, I mean, there are ways people can get around it. There's things that people can do, but in general, as a good Christian person, you kept it, it was like, I want to know you. I want to get to know you. And that's the way relationships should be. I mean, I always feel like, your wife or your husband should be your best friend. And the only way to get to know your best friend is by finding out about them. A
lot of talking
about them, a lot of talking and finding out their likes and dislikes. But also the thing is also you see their bad part when they're tired, they're cranky, they're sleepy, they're hungry, and how they act. And you learn to say, oh, well, you're not perfect. We're not perfect, and the fact is you get to learn that, and you get to see the good, the bad, and the ugly, but you love the person. So you kind of overlook the bad, and say, hey, now as long as he's not a murderer or a rapist or something like that, don't overlook that. People, if you're watching, do not overlook that. Get out of that relationship. But in general, it's like, you can see and you just adapt. You just adapt to it, and just grow. So getting into your other things, I'm looking at your, we've talked a lot about what about you down here and you say a coach, a wife, and a mom. We basically talked a little bit about your mom, but you're being a mom, not your mom. Well, we did talk about that too, but what's this coach thing? What's going on with that? Coaching of what? Sports? Business?
No. People of all kinds. I'm an efficiency coach.
Efficiency coach. So what's that? So for all the people like me who do not understand it, efficiency, I think of it as being, like everything is correctly done in the right order, so it's efficient. Is that how you describe yourself? You teach people how to keep things in order?
I say I'm an efficiency coach with a focus on goal setting and vision. So I can help you keep things in order to the extent that you want to keep things in order. Because some people hear something like that and they freak out and they're like, she's going to put me in a box. And that's not what I'm about. There is no one size fits all, except that you do, if you want to live an intentional life, you still need goals and systems in place.
I get it's weird. Speaking of goals and stuff like that, maybe you can. It's like, okay, the shrink is in, the coach is in. So I just have to ask this question: how do you deal with when you have goals that are longer than like a year? How do you break? The old expression is, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? I know how I'm doing it right now, and I'll tell you after you answer your question, and we'll see if they kind of match. How do you deal with something that it's not going to be a goal that you can achieve in a year? It might be 2 to 3 years. What would you say to somebody like that if you're giving them some advice?
I would say that that's your long-term vision, and then you need to break it down from there. So, the vision is, let's say you want to get out of all your debt. Okay, I'm not going to do it this year. It's not going to happen based on my income. And if I go get 3 part-time jobs, this is what I'll make. That's not enough. Okay, that's your vision. You make that goal. You can even say, I want this by this date, and that can still be kind of a visionary item. And then, all right, now for 2023, what can I do? And even, I don't know when this will air, but let's say, we're in August. Even right now, I can still
air sometime in October, early October.
Okay, so, it's October. The year's not over yet. Give yourself that 2-3 months. What can I accomplish in the next 3 months that will move the needle just a little bit? And then let's reevaluate for 2024. And go, what can I do in 2024 that's going to get me closer to that? How close can I get to it? Something financial, like I just gave an example, like getting out of debt or saving so much, this dollar amount for a down payment. those things are incredibly tangible, right? We know what we often know around what our income is going to be or how we can increase that. So it's very simple to map something like that out. There might be some other things that are less tangible. Let's say it's a business. I want my business to be at X income revenue by, in 5 years from now. Okay, awesome. You don't have complete control over all those things.
Right.
So you set the goal for this year. That means I need the revenue to be at this, which means my action items are X, Y, and Z. That means I need the things I do have control over. What are those things? Because oftentimes we set goals that we don't have control over. We have control over our time, our actions, our mindset, our attitude, and that's it. Everything else we either have to accept or just have some influence over. So we set that goal, but then we set those action items of, okay, what does that mean I have to do daily, weekly, monthly to get there? Does that kind of help? Does that answer your question?
That kind of help. Yeah. So that's your coach part. And obviously you said you're a mom. So let me talk a little bit about being a mom and how many kids you got and stuff like that. So
yeah, we have one son. He's 6. Okay. We adopted him from Colombia in 2021 when he was 4.
One of the guys I work with, and I've interviewed him, he goes to Colombia a lot and does mission trips there.
Oh, awesome.
He does a lot of mission trips. So that's cool.
Yeah.
So
and this was something, that was something we chose to do. We always said we wanted to adopt first. And so once we bought our house, we said, okay, the time is now. And Colombia kind of worked out. We were never committed to Colombia. We weren't married to this idea of a certain country. Right. When we finally got down to looking at the different agencies and the different countries and their programs, there's so many requirements to everything that Colombia is the one that made sense for us. There are requirements per country and per agency. So you kind of have to match those up. So how long you've been married. Some places require you've been married 5 years. We had that covered. Some people, at the time, we could not adopt from China because both parents have to be 30. Apparently being 30 makes you a great parent.
I guess so.
Most Asian countries have a BMI requirement for each parent.
Now, BMI is what?
Body mass index.
Oh, wow.
Then there's finances with, your income once you get home, but then also what the adoption is going to cost. And those can be anywhere from like $20,000 to $100,000 when it comes to international adoption. And then how many trips. So, for example, we know somebody who adopted from India. They had to go for a couple of weeks, meet their daughter, and then come home without her and do more paperwork and such, go back again. I think it was a whole month they were there that time. Oh, wow. And then they got to bring their daughter with them. And I was not about that. I'm not going to meet my kid and say, all right, I'll be back. So Colombia was one trip for 3 weeks. And that was something we were like, my husband's got the time off. I'm a business owner. We can make that work. And so we did. It was about total from start to arriving home. It was 23 months.
Okay. That's cool. And you said he's 6 now?
Yeah, he's 6 and we are homeschooling. So I'm homeschool mom, business owner, primary caregiver, all those things.
You got a lot of hats, you're multi-hats and then you do, podcasting and stuff like that. One of the other things you said, you were military, not a brat, but they consider that, they always say that, military brat. And you actually wrote a book about that. I don't know if we mentioned it much in the past, but we'll say it again now if we did. But so talk a little bit about that, about the book. Yeah.
BRAT it stands for born, raised, and trained. So we're not just rude.
Yeah, right. You're not just a brat.
Right. So Marine Corps B.R.A.T, you can find it on Amazon. Every chapter in there goes through a different area of your life, your mindset, your values, your relationships, your finances, education, and how the way I was raised with these kind of countercultural ways, how that shaped my thoughts on this and sharing that with you. And I'm very practical type A, so I would provide a lot of insight in there as well as resources for, hey, if you're interested in this, here's some other places to look into it. And here's some steps you can take.
Cool. So that book you said is on Amazon. So I'll have a link. If you didn't give it to me, I'll get it to you. Texting you and you'll give it to me because I'll put it in the show notes and I'll also put it in the descriptions and all that kind of stuff. And it will be on the screen. So that's pretty cool. So what are other ways as a coach and all that kind of stuff? if we're wrapping it up right now, is like, how can people how can you help people, in the sense of if they want to get a hold of you and they want to coach or they want something what you do, how can they get a hold of you on that set?
Yeah. The best thing is my website, KylieRobinson.com. You can get everything there. I do my 7-step program as a small group course or one-on-one coaching for those that really feel like they need that deep dive and some one-on-one attention. And then I also have a membership in there, but it's all on the website. Also for your audience, I have a free PDF. So it's KylieRobinson.com/free. And that is going to be a PDF download. It is 5 steps to stop procrastinating and pursue your goals.
Now, don't procrastinate getting that link.
No.
Or, not you, but the people. Like, I'll download that link sometime. Yeah.
I can't help you there. Once you have it, I can help you.
You're right. You got to get to that point. So
then my Instagram is a great place to kind of just keep up with me, and I'll get you that link.
You give me that link, and I'll put it up on the screen, and as I said, it will be in the show notes. So Kylee, thank you very much for joining me today, learning a little bit more about yourself. You never know how interviews are going to go, but this went really well. I mean, we had some technical issues here and there, but hey, and we had a kid running in, it's part of the course, I mean, it's no big deal. So that's really cool. But thank you very much for being on the show today. I appreciate it. Okay.
Thank you for having me.
Everybody else, you've been listening to the Millennium Beat with your host, Kevin James. I'm glad that you're here. Stay tuned. Come back next week for some more interviews or topic shows. So everybody, take care and God bless.
This has been a Millennium Beat LLC production. Views and opinions of the guest are not always the views and opinions of the Millennium Beat LLC. Check us out on social media, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, and TikTok at the Millennium Beat, or on Twitter at Millennium_Beat. If you would like to partner with us to reach the world, go to our website for more information. You can go to themillenniumbeat.com or tmb2000.net. Your financial support is greatly appreciated. We couldn't do all we do without your support.
The Millennium Beat just updated our website from the ground up. Check it out at themillenniumbeat.com, or you can get there by using millenniumbeat.com or tmb2000.net, where you'll be redirected to the millenniumbeat.com's homepage. I want to thank Mass Inbound for their awesome work on our website. If you're looking for somebody to build your site, I recommend them. You can reach them at massinbound.com. That is massinbound.com. These are some of the things that you can find on our website. Homepage. You can watch our latest YouTube video or listen to our audio podcast. Also listed are some of the platforms our audio podcast is on. You'll find out when the next podcast will air and who the guest will be. On the top right, you will find 2 red buttons, Learn How to Help and Become a Guest. Under Learn How to Help, you can become a partner, sponsor, contributor, or contribute to the future Millennium Bus. You can give one-time or monthly recurring. The choice is yours. The other button is Be a Guest. Click it, go to the form, and fill it out, and we will get back to you. We would love to hear your story. Click the About Us drop-down where you'll find stats, where we are reaching people, and to find more information on our sponsors. Click on the podcast drop-down. Then click on the calendar tab where it will tell you when the shows will air and who will be on them. Or if you need to know about any meetups of the Millennium Beat staff, partners, or listeners. Also, there might be on the calendar an event at which the Millennium Beat staff will be at. Click the guest tab for all previous guests, links to their website, social media pages, and any store they might have. Click the forms drop down. There you'll find a release, be a guest, or become a sponsor form.